So now we have college personnel support teams. They're led by Estella Delgado.
Hi, my name is Nicolette Rowan, and the 6 of us are part of the college personnel support team best practice group. So first off, we wanted to sort of establish what best practices meant to us. We see best practices as an initiative established last year in an effort to explore and identify best practices and issues that are faced by different colleges and groups here at Rice. So we're all part of different colleges, we do things differently, there are unique aspects, obviously, to every single college here. So best practices is a way for us to sort of uncover these issues, these unique aspects, best practices of all colleges, and expose them to Rice as a whole, and in order to provide insight and make Rice a better place on the whole. So our group was in charge of investigating the role of adult support systems at the various colleges here on campus and seeing what their role is, how they function, and how they fit into life here at Rice. And with that, we wanted to introduce the rest of the team.
So, I'm Franco Vitati.
Hi, I'm Cynthia Bow. I'm Adriana Aguilar. I'm Melanie Zook. And I'm Gabby DeLee.
So first, we'd like to briefly outline how exactly we arrived at our conclusions tonight. First, the majority of our research was done in sitting down and talking to people in interview phase. And as such, our entire presentation will be split into the 3 distinct groups. Masters, which Gabriella will touch on, college coordinators, which will be Adriana's topic, and finally the residential associates, or RAs, which will be Melanie's point. As we go through each of these individual sections and we sat down and we interviewed these people from all of the 11 colleges, we have a significant number of interviews. And immediately as we sat down, we realized that there is a point, there is a purpose behind what exactly we are trying to do. And the majority of all problems that we arrived at, which the interview process kind of revolved around, fit into 2 main categories. Those of communication, or inter-college communication, and those of a lack of institutional memory. Let's briefly outline institutional memory first. Institutional memory means, firstly, that there is this distinct gap between the ability for students in the selection committees to select who exactly they would like to be. This applies mostly to the RAs. Because there is always a point in each college's history where they must look for new RAs, sometimes the previous selection committee left little to no information, and the selection committee at current has to start basically from scratch. This, of course, is an issue that we're hoping to deal with by creating a compilation of advice and suggestions for all forms of students' selection committees across the Rice campus. Inter-college communication, on the other hand, is this is also mostly geared towards RAs because the other 2 sections mostly have them. The masters have their general get-together, and the college coordinators also have email group notices. However, RAs do not communicate very well across colleges, and this has been seen at the majority of our interview processes. So we have recommendations listed in 4. First, we would like to encourage get-togethers. The masters should continue their get-togethers and allow themselves more room to grow, more room to look at exactly what each of them is doing right and what each of them might possibly improve on. Also, organize mentorships between the 2 different, for example, if we are initiating a new master, it would be beneficial to have a previous master from another college to kind of guide them and show them in the forms of the buddy system, if you will, what exactly they should be doing and what exactly their job consists of. Improved initial training and orientation also would be helpful, as several times, especially with the RAs, we have seen that they are not precisely sure what their position entails, what they are meant to do, and finally, a more informative application process to fill that same gap.
So now I wanted to talk about our methodology. So the 6 of us immediately divided to interview masters, RAs, and college coordinators in the various colleges across campus. We interviewed people from all 11 colleges, not everyone, but it was enough of a sampling to provide us enough information. So we started asking sort of general questions about their role and their function at their colleges, and as we recognized specific patterns and issues that were kind of common across all the interviews, we develop more specific questions to ask. So we ended up sort of centering our questions around their role, their training, and their application process. And of course, the questions varied based upon whether they were a master, an RA, or a college coordinator. So some of our questions were, like, what is your role? How did you handle issues? How do you interact with students on a day-to-day basis? What is unique to your college? Because that would involve best practice. And then what is your interaction like with other members of the adult support team at your college? We were interested in how the adults work together, or if they even work together, or if they hold regular meetings and such. And then what was the application process like, and was it positive or negative, and what sort of issues they had with it, and what kinks.
So the masters, we found that their role in the college is to serve as the central point of the college. So they have regular meetings with the president and the other adult support team members in order to get everybody on board on what's going on and have different perspectives on the issues in the college. And in addition to that, they serve as a mentor to the students. So if they need any help academically or emotionally, if they have any problems, they can always rely on the masters that they can go to for help. And also they serve to preserve the culture of the college. So many of them put on events. We noticed a lot of them host dinners at their house on Saturdays, or just various events to get the students to talk to each other and to cultivate a sense of family within the college. So we found that there are some things that they see that could be improved. One of the things is that a lot of faculty isn't as aware of how the college system works as in comparison to the past. There has been a decrease in application for master positions, and so our suggestion to fix that it would be to welcome the faculty into the college by hosting events, so that they're more familiar with the college and they can be associates and then apply to be masters. That would encourage them to do so. Another issue would be their transition into the master's position, because right now RAs have, there are 2 sets of RAs in each college, and so whenever an RA comes in, they have another set of RA who they can go to for help if they need anything, or just to be their mentor. And so, as Craig was saying earlier, our suggestion to this would be a buddy system for the masters with a current master on campus, so that they would they could meet with frequently, so that they could ask them questions or have any suggestions to guide them into, especially the early stages of their mastership. And lastly, some masters expressed concern about their involvement in the RA search committee. It's not standard for how much involvement they can have or should have in the RA search, but what we would suggest is a partnership between the masters and the RAs, because the masters will be working with them, with the RAs up to 7 years, and so they, it's important for the masters to meet the RAs early in the process, so that they can express what they're looking for in an RA, as well as the students, because the masters or the RAs are there for the students. And so next we have the RAs.
So when talking about residential associates, we found they had a couple of primary roles in their college. The first is to really assist the masters in guiding and nurturing and informing the students. And that can be both intellectually and emotionally. And they do this a lot through their second role, which is really just interacting informally with students all the time. So they really get to know where students are in their lives and what they can do to help them out. So overall, RAs have a really flexible job description. But they really like this. We found that everyone we talked to loved their jobs, and they really loved that the job description they had allowed them so much freedom to really make it what they wanted. However, we did find 4 major concerns that came up repeatedly, although not all the time, in our RA interviews. And the first of these concerns is about the application process. And a lot of RAs felt they didn't really know what they were getting themselves into when they began the process. We have a couple of suggestions to this. The first is what Gabby was talking about, really getting masters involved with the application process right from the beginning. We want to make sure masters and potential RAs are on the same page the whole way through. The second suggestion for this is having potential RAs interact informally with students, really just going to meal times with students, getting to know people outside of the student search committee, so that the potential RAs really get a sense of what their college is and what the culture and atmosphere is at that particular residential college, since of course it's different at every college. The second concern we found was many RAs expressed concern about the lack of appropriateness when it came to some interview questions. Really, they felt like student search committees needed to treat certain questions with more sensitivity than other questions. For example, one of the questions that they took issue with was, do you plan to have children while you're an RA? They don't want to tell student search committees not to ask this because this is important to the RA role. But what they want to do is have those search committees treat the subject with sensitivity. They really need to make sure search committees know that this is a sensitive topic and it's something that people might not want to discuss up front. And search committees need to know that it might be problematic. So what we want to do to solve this is really have a database for student search committees. Really compile a lot of information from current RAs about what they liked and don't like about the application process. This would include interview questions that they like and don't like. And really put that together on a website, put it online, and also distribute it to each college coordinator so that search committees can have that institutional memory, like Franco was talking about, and really hold on to what RAs want in their interview process. We would compile this information at the spring RA mixer, which Cynthia will talk about more at the end. Then our third concern was a lack of initial training and orientation for RAs. RAs felt like when they got into it, they didn't know maybe emergency protocol, and they weren't sure what to do when emergency situations came up. They expressed that they felt there might have been more university-sanctioned training in the past and not as much recently, and so recent RAs just felt unprepared for a lot of those emergency situations. So we have a few suggestions for this. The first is to just have more university-sponsored training for RAs coming into their roles. The second is for RA spouses who live off campus. They really just need campus tours of Rice. Some of them told us that they didn't even know how early to leave for meetings because they had no idea how far away the building was. That would be an easy fix, just giving those tours to RA spouses early on. And the third one, we want to compile a short written handbook from current RAs for future RAs. This would again be at the mixer, and we would figure out what RAs want to pass on to the next generation of RAs. This would not be college specific, it would just be a sort of starting point for all of these basic protocols and procedures. And the last concern we found from the RAs was they didn't feel there was enough inter-college communication. They didn't feel like they knew a lot of RAs at the other colleges, and that was holding them back from doing their own job at best. So in addition to these spring mixer we want to have, we need regular get-togethers for these RAs. We feel they should be held at the end of the summer, beginning of classes, when things might be a little less hectic, and we want it to be at a time that fits most people's schedules. We might even have a couple of mixers just so that everyone can go to them and really meet people at other colleges.
So the college coordinators really like their job since it has such a flexible job description. They act as the glue to the college. They handle day-to-day administrative responsibilities. They offer guidance and counseling to students. They help coordinate college events. And they also act as a sort of institutional memory to the college while they are there. We did find, although all college coordinators love their job, we did find one problem, which was in training. There wasn't very much overlap between previous college coordinators and the current college coordinators. When they came in, for example, one college coordinator only had 2 weeks with the previous college coordinator, which was just enough to learn the day-to-day stuff, but they didn't have a really good idea of the year's plan. So when it came to things like helping students coordinate beer bike or public parties, they didn't really have an idea of how big of a responsibility that was. So a couple of college coordinators currently are heading up an initiative to start a guidebook for future college coordinators. So as part of the essay, it is our job to support their initiative and offer any help that we can.
So we're really excited to present our initiatives for the spring 2013 semester. I just want to emphasize that the system is not broken. We love our RAs, masters, and college coordinators. We think they're doing a great job, and we really appreciate them for what they do. We're just trying to, help facilitate their job and make it a little more easier on them, and make it a little more easier on the student search committees when looking for new RAs and masters, and I guess not college coordinators. So for masters, just to summarize, we want to have kind of like a buddy system where, you know, masters can have another master to look to for when they need help or advice, or, you know, even just someone to ask questions if they need another resource, just as a point person where they can refer to. And for RAs, we're really excited because we want to put on an RA mixer next semester. And this RA mixer would involve current RAs and potential RAs. So, you know, the potential RAs can talk to current RAs and kind of figure out what the job is, if they really want to do it, and other things that they wouldn't get necessarily by talking to students. We also, during the mixer, we want RAs to kind of write down questions that they liked about the interview process, and questions that they were a little more uncomfortable with. Questions that should be treated with more sensitivity. Not necessarily not ask them, but just a little more cautious about them. And we also want to ask the RAs, the current RAs, for advice and insight on their current job. So we want to compile this into a guidebook. And the guidebook would just be basic guidelines, again, not college specific, as Melanie mentioned, because we just want a general jumping off point for the RA. Kind of, you know, a numbers list where they could call if need be, or if someone, or people they should ask for certain things. This is, again, not for each college. This is just a basic book for everyone, because we value each college's individuality, and we love that each RA is special and different and does their own thing. And lastly, we would just support the college coordinators in their endeavor to create the guidebook that they're already doing. So.
We do have one final suggestion for the Student Association in particular, and that is to create a best practices project next year for head resident fellows. We decided not to include HRFs in this presentation because it only applies to 3 of the 11 colleges, and we wanted to focus more on HRFs specifically. There's a lot of material in there to dig into, and there's a lot we feel that could be gained from learning what the HRFs do and what they could do. So that project could look at, you know, should we have HRFs at every college? Should we expand the system? Is the system working? We talked to a couple HRFs for this project, but felt like they deserved their own project, specifically looking into their needs. So at this time, we'd like to open it up to any questions that anyone may have.